Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to right here at youtube.com/Steve and Larson. Available wherever podcasts can be found. And of course, taped live with the Twitch at twitch.tv/Steve and Larson. It's a special. I think we've been kind of we're going to try to do these monthly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something like that.
It's closer. We've been closer to that than in months past, the last couple months. By that, I think we've done 2 in the last 3 months as opposed to 1 every 4 months before.
Right. A for effort, I say.
New year, you know what?
Yeah.
Resolutions and
things.
Stuff.
Exactly. So today on Going In Raw, we're going to be looking at an old WWF pay-per-view. And I believe we put a couple up for vote. For the patrons on this one.
Sounds right.
And the Friendos voted with King of the Ring 96. That's what we did. I think I brought one, you brought one, and then we had the Friendo sort of mull over.
Yeah,
one.
that sounds right.
And I won this one.
I won
the vote for King of the Ring 1996.
I guess it makes sense because I believe at the time we were putting my time line could be completely off. When we put this up for vote, it might have been around the same time that report started coming out that Stone Cold's going to have some sort of involvement at WrestleMania 38 just a week or so ago. It turns out he had a match. Could be his last match.
Yeah, he actually had a
match. And so I guess it's apropos to bring everything full circle at the very beginning of the Austin 316 phenomena.
Yeah,
which started at King of the Ring 96 on the heels of probably his final bout. And talk about how it all started.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of interesting off the bat. When we talk about King of the Ring 1996, like you just mentioned, the big thing is the Austin 316, the promo that sort of, as Conrad in his podcast mentioned, right after this is when you saw everybody with Austin 316 signs and they sort of realized, hey, we have something here. And then the shirt became probably the best-selling shirt in wrestling history, maybe the NWO, but I get the feeling it's probably Austin 316 at this point.
Might be at this juncture, Austin 316.
So, but what's interesting to me, and what's kind of frustrating, I'm curious, so our research for this episode involved obviously watching the damn thing, and I listened to Conrad's Something to Wrestle podcast, and didn't you listen to the JR podcast?
I actually end up listening to both of them. I listened to both the Bruce one and the JR one, yeah.
Did JR give my biggest question, because Conrad did not dive into this, and he was asked directly point blank at the beginning of the episode. Because if you look, this is a weird card. Like if you take Austin out of this, it's just like a not very memorable card at all. It's memorable for how much of a weird mix of talent WWF was dealing with in the summer of 1996. Did JR speak on, because Bruce was asked by Conrad in his episode
point blank about this being
this
kind of
was
a transitionary period. For
transitionary period. Can you speak on that? And instead, Bruce wanted to talk about Warrior's hat.
Yeah.
Did JR dive into the culture at the time, I guess, for lack of a better term?
Not. I don't. Granted, this was a couple weeks ago. I listened to this, and so one thing I remember standing out in terms of how they were approaching things from a creative standpoint in this period was Conrad brought up that this was kind of like peak vocational gimmick in WWE.
Yeah.
Obviously, you had TL Hooper, the plumber. You had the Goon, hockey player.
Hockey guy, yeah.
And this is around the time. I don't know if Repo Man was still around 96. I don't recall. Around the time Repo Man was a thing in WWF. And it's interesting refrain to hear from JR in how they approach gimmicks then versus now, because it's not much has changed. It's okay. Well, we have someone who could work.
Yeah,
let's give them something and see if they can get it over.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the level of planning and forethought into a lot of things seems to be pretty minimal in that, okay, we're bringing somebody in, whether we're just bringing them in to be a good hand. In the case of like Tracy Smothers, they had seemingly no designs on pushing him at all. They just wanted good wrestlers in to put on decent matches against people they actually were going to push, I guess.
Yeah.
So they just give them a gimmick, and if they get it over, awesome. If not, oh well.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting to see that creative process to a degree still exists in WWE. Yeah, sure. I mean, like, there's still some high concept ideas that they'll develop and pitch, and sometimes they'll get over. But seemingly a lot of times it's like, okay, we have a basic idea. Let's give it to this performer and put the onus on them to make something of it.
Yeah. The mishmash of talent is really bizarre here. And it doesn't really get, so like one of the main, when you think of 94, 95, 96, obviously it sort of blew up in 97, but you think of names like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Well, Bret wasn't with the company at the time.
He was not. He was under contract for the show.
He was not under contract. And one thing Bruce does bring up is that they were relatively concerned at the time that he was going to be the third man in WCW. That's where a lot of speculation was online in terms of Bret Hart.
And apparently Hall and Nash wanted him to be the third man.
And they were pitching for him to be the third man, yeah. And so he ended up, obviously, that ended up not happening. But this was one of the times, the last time that Ultimate Warrior was in WWF. And if you take a look,
match, yeah.
And if you take a look at the box art on Peacock, anyways, and I would suspect if you take a look at, let's see here, King of the Ring 1996 VHS box art, he was it was okay. So the actual VHS box art is sort of your standard box art for Coliseum at the time, and it's the main event. The HBK versus Bulldog sort of taking the prominent spot, and then you got the tag. So I mean, it's all the title matches right there.
Yeah.
And it's don't even, it's got the King of the Ring logo, but it doesn't have. And it's funny that they didn't I don't know. This blew up. You'd think that, this video probably dropped, I'd imagine, with plenty of time to add Austin to the cover. But I guess they elected not to. Let's see is there DVD? Did they reissue this as a DVD after the? I'm just sort of curious because it was such a seminal moment.
Yeah, I know.
That here's the DVD. Nope.
Same thing.
It's the same as yeah. The actual poster was Ultimate Warrior, and this was, I think, the last WWF saw of the Ultimate Warrior. Of course, he had that Mania match, which Conrad, had confirmed, I guess, that was part of Triple H's punishment. Although I forget if when we
the Mania match happened before the curtain call. Curtain call was in May.
Yeah. Oh no, the King of the Ring lost.
Yes, because
King of the Ring lost
initially. So let's go, because a lot of the point could easily be made that Stone Cold would have been something regardless, because that character was getting some momentum behind it before the show. A couple weeks before King of the Ring 96 is when he introduced the stunner into his arsenal of moves, adopted it as finisher. But if history had been written slightly different, if the curtain call hadn't happened, or if Vince and company are like, meh, whatever, and decide not to punish Triple H, he was going to win King of the Ring 96.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so if the finals are Jake Roberts versus Hunter Hearst Helmsley, you don't get the Austin 316 promo. Unless somewhere down the line they happen to do a Jake Stone Cold thing. What if Bret Hart had agreed to go to WCW in the summer of 96, been the third man to start the NWO? Then the feud between Austin and Bret Hart doesn't happen. And that was one of the feuds that really elevated the Stone Cold character.
And maybe even more importantly, we might not have gotten the Mr. McMahon character, because the genesis of that was obviously Survivor Series 97, the Montreal Screwjob. It's difficult for me to think that he wouldn't have been huge anyways, because I don't know, you look at this promo, it's sort of just stuck in the middle of I don't know, the pay-per-view was fine. It was just a weird pay-per-view. I'm not going to say it was dog shit. It was just a weird pay-per-view. There were some good matches. The main event was really good. There were some good matches on it. There was some weird stuff going on. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of things would have had to have fallen out of place for Austin not to become a big star. Obviously, along the way, his road was pretty much paved. Without the big thing with him and Hart, would Austin have been a big? I mean, without them being malleable enough back then, would they have turned Rock heel? Or they would kept on trying with Rocky Maivia. a lot of stuff would have had to have fallen off. I mean, eventually the talent was just there for Austin to be who he was anyways.
You just think of all the seminal moments that were part of his rise to the top.
Yeah.
And how, like, I was going to say nebulous, but that's not the right word. Tenuous. If you look at the timeline, a lot of that stuff was.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, this, WCW was kind of like wiping the floor. At the time, I think it was the Great American Bash was sort of counter program to this. And I know I had written down, maybe I hadn't written down, what WCW is doing. But it is kind of interesting, just the kind of momentum they had on their side.
Yeah.
It might have been right at the tail end of like the silliness with Kevin Sullivan's group. So over on the WCW side, you had, let's see here, at the top of the card. Okay, I mean, this is not impressive. The Giant beat Lex Luger in the main event. You had Flair and Arn Anderson beating Kevin Green and Steve McMichael, which, if I recall correctly, was actually kind of a relatively big deal because they were bringing in like some former NFL players.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, Kevin Green was a pretty decent wrestler.
Yeah, he was he was a pretty decent wrestler. You had Benoit versus Kevin Sullivan in that Falls Count Anywhere match. You had let's see here, Dean Malenko versus Rey Mysterio Jr. It was a much more sort of cohesive and well put together roster in WCW.
Yeah.
Like WWF, it was such a mishmash. It was such a weird conglomeration.
Yeah, it really was, because like Vader came in from WCW, and of course, obviously in Japan and WCW, Vader was booked like an absolute monster.
Yeah, sure.
And then I think that started to change a bit in WCW once Hogan came in. So he was looking for other opportunities, came to WWF, and they seemingly didn't really know how to best utilize his talents.
Yeah, Vince liked him.
And then one thing JR mentioned in his show about this was, like so Vader has a semifinal match against Jake Roberts on this card, and we'll get into the more details of it when you talk about that particular match. But JR mentions that there was several people on the roster, most prominently probably Vader, who was very hesitant to take clean losses. It was mostly to protect their position, maybe not so much in WWF, but in terms of their opportunities to make money overseas. Obviously, Vader booked basically as an unbeatable monster in Japan, and he was worried that if he took a bunch of losses here in the States, he wouldn't be able to get the paydays he would in Japan, either concurrently or following his run in WWF. And so JR talks about the headaches of finding creative ways to get Vader out of the tournament. Another aspect of that was apparently they make a list of who they want in the tournament and figure out how that's going to play out later.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about, or Vader is worried about taking losses, and you have no plan for him to win the tournament, you don't have to put him in the tournament.
Yeah. No. I know. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because look at who is in the final scrum here at the end of the show. You've got HBK. He don't like losing. You got Ahmed Johnson. If I remember correctly, he was known to be relatively difficult to work with, so I'm not sure he would have liked to take clean losses.
I believe
Vader,
his King of the Ring match early in the tournament was his first loss in WWF. I believe he lost to Owen or Goldust. I can check. 1 second.
It was. I think it was. What are we talking about? Ahmed Johnson right now?
Yeah.
I think it was because Owen Hart hit him with the cast. I think.
Yeah, that sounds
to
right.
help. I forget who.
Here, give me a second. I can find that.
Yeah, but then you got Ultimate Warrior, a guy who never liked to lose to
Vader.
anybody.
He lost to Vader.
He lost to Vader. There you go. And then Vader, who don't want to lose to anybody. You got all these people who don't want to lose anybody. That ain't easy to work with.
Let's take a quick break here to get a word from our sponsor, Lumen Skin. Hey, Steve.
Yes.
Let's talk skincare.
Okay.
So I'm sure a lot of the friendos are out there, or once like me. Their skincare routine pretty much consisted of washing your face with the same body wash or soap you use on the rest of your body. And you probably thought, hey, this has got to be good enough. Well, I've got some bad news. That body wash or soap you've been using all these years is damaging your skin.
That's right. But with Lumen, you can drop that bottle of 3-in-1 and start using products that actually take care of your skin. Lumen's products aim to help with those stubborn acne scars, under-eye dark circles, wrinkles, sun damage, dry skin, and oily skin. Getting started is easy. All you got to do is take the 2-minute quiz on their website, and they'll tell you which skincare routine is best suited for your needs.
Yeah, I took the quiz and got the anti-fatigue essentials set to help with these dark circles I keep getting under my eyes. And with Lumen, I know I'm getting high-quality products made with natural ingredients like licorice root extract, rose flower oil, charcoal powder, ginger, and green tea.
So level up your skincare game with Lumen Skin today. Go to lumenskin.com/raw to get your free trial of Lumen's products.
That's LUMIN skin.com/raw to get your free trial of Lumen's products. lumenskin.com/raw. And let's get a word from our sponsor, Blenders Eyewear. Fresh from the sandy beach to San Diego, California, comes the only sunglasses brand I'm ever going to wear again, Steve. I'm talking about Blenders Eyewear. And you're just going to be as hooked as I am when you witness how awesome they are. I got myself a pair of, look at these, Ice Crush shades.
Ooh.
And they're my go-to sunglasses to wear when I'm out on my morning walks or running errands.
Well, you might have Ice Crush, but I've got Stone Breakers. That's right, man. Listen, Blender's team of in-house designers are always coming up with new styles, too, like orange polarized wraparounds, tortoise shell frames with purple lenses, to classic gold arms on black lenses.
And unlike expensive big brand shades, Blenders are actually affordable, still offer the same cool factor as the leading styles. I mean, look at us.
We look so cool. Super cool.
And they've got more than sunglasses. Blenders offers prescription glasses, readers, and blue lights, as well as a snow collection with goggles and accessories. So live life in forward motion with Blenders today.
To score 15% off your Blenders purchase, visit blenderseyewear.com and enter promo code RAWVIP. That's blenderseyewear.com, code RAWVIP for 15% off. Blenders, rocked with pride worldwide. Before we get back to the show, let's get a word in from our sponsor, Get Upside. Hey, Larson.
Yes, Steve?
Oh, man, have you noticed that basically everything is getting more expensive these days? From gas to groceries to dining out, inflation is really hitting us in the wallet.
I have noticed that, Steve, which is why I started using Get Upside. I've used their app when buying gas and eating out, and I'm getting cash back with every purchase. Just last week, I went and bought some gas for my car and then bought a burrito using Get Upside, and now I've got a few extra dollars just waiting to be spent on more burritos.
Man, burritos are awesome. And so are the offers you can get through Get Upside. All you got to do is get started. To get started is download the Get Upside app in the App Store or Google Play. Open it up, claim an offer for whatever you're buying, then check in and pay as you normally would with like a credit or debit card and get paid. That's it. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon or a bunch of other brands.
So download the free Get Upside app and use promo code RAW to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. That's $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more using promo code RAW.
Let's talk about this really quick. Did you find it strange that the build here, the story of the final, of this King of the Ring tournament as it pertains to King of the Ring was all about getting the old timer, the old gunslinger, Jake Roberts, at the crusty old age of 41. We're like a couple years older than that.
Yeah.
You and I.
Yeah.
At the crusty old age of 41, where Owen Hart says he doesn't even belong in the ring at that age. He was the underdog who had his ribs taken out by Vader. Mm-hmm. And you would think that they're going to go for like a big underdog babyface win against Steve Austin, who they're really not even, it's not even really like they seem to be building up Austin that much in this show.
No, that's true, but you hear both Bruce and JR talk about it, and they were asked, both of them, were there any other options other than Steve, and they both said no.
Yeah.
After they decided Triple H wasn't winning it, everybody's like, all right. I mean, I think there was other names thrown out, but no one was really thought of as another serious option other than Stone Cold. And I think because they saw that he was getting some momentum behind him, and they thought, okay, this is a way to elevate him to the next level.
It's interesting to me, though, they didn't feature Austin more prominently in sort of
absolutely.
that, because it's like Jake, it was just sort of, I don't know. a bit on the deflating. So, well, number one, you couldn't do much with that final match anyways because Austin, it was a really short final match.
Yeah.
Because his, the lip was busted. So they're like, hey, we're going to have this go short. Because Austin obviously insisted that he proceed with the match.
Yeah, it was 16 stitches in his lip.
Yeah. Oh, that was gnarly. But yeah, it was just kind of interesting because Jake, this old gunslinger, and then they bruise him up. And it just turns out, no, we're just going to have Austin win here. I wonder if the thought was ever, yeah, we should just have Jake win, for like a last hurrah, and then we'll do the rest later because you could still do that.
Maybe, but I guess at this time Jake was not only wrestling a bit but doing producing work backstage.
Yeah.
And maybe they developed that underdog story so Austin would get more heat on him when he won the match.
And apparently Jake was working with Austin.
Yeah.
Like backstage. Like,
Yeah.
I think Conrad said something like he was one who suggested the kick to the gut before the stunner. Because he was basically just doing a diamond cutter at that point. It was kind of like it was a sit down diamond cutter. He was like, you would just grab their heads and then hit it.
It didn't quite have the out of nowhere nature of what it would eventually become.
No, it didn't.
There's a pretty slow and pretty obvious setup where he grabbed them by their head, took a beat, and then hit the stunner as opposed to bang stunner.
Yeah, it is wildly hilarious. Though I know you've seen the whole thing now, and I mentioned this before. Warrior, the pop that Warrior still got.
Yeah,
I wonder how Pavlovian that was with his music because his music does hit you hard.
it does.
Doom, 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 doom,
And that
doom,
energy,
he comes out.
his theme comes on, the energy with which he sprints to the ring, starts shaking the ropes, all that.
You can't help but be jazzed when this dude comes out to the ring.
I understand why people would be jazzed. Until I saw him wrestle, and then whatever enthusiasm I have for him would quickly dissipate. Because like his match against Lawler here, if he's never been a skilled ring technician by any stretch of the imagination, but I guess he was dealing with the shoulder injury or something, so he couldn't even do the press slam. He wanted the shoulder tackle.
This was dog shit.
Yeah, and the story
so
of him wearing the hat is funny. So the idea is in the build to Lawler's match against Warrior, Lawler had an in-ring segment where he did like a painting of the Warrior, and he actually did it.
Yeah.
And so he had it framed with glass and everything on it. And the idea of the segment was Lawler was going to break the painting over Warrior's head. Well, Warrior was concerned about getting hurt, so not only did he wear a baseball cap, apparently he had a pad underneath the baseball cap. So he wouldn't get glass or anything in his head. But apparently Lawler, when he did it, broke it with the glass facing himself. And so it wasn't like the Warrior was like in any real danger of getting hurt.
I'll be honest with you. Warrior's made a lot of questionable decisions in his life. That's not one of them. That'd be me. I'd be like, hey, I'm going to put on a baseball hat. I'm going to put a pad underneath because I don't want to get sliced in the head. I'm with Warrior on that one. I stand with Warrior, Larson.
Oh, wow.
Specifically on that one issue alone nothing else.
Make sure you qualify that, yes.
Exactly. Let's just dive into it, man.
Sure.
Opens up Owen Hart, who's a bad guy at the time with one of those casts.
Yeah, he's a member of Camp Cornette.
Camp Cornette, probably the least intimidating named faction I can think of. He interrupts Vince and JR as they intro the show. He joins them on commentary. Of course, I think he's a recent Slammy Award winner here, right? Or was that later?
Yeah. Well, he won a bunch of Slammies, I think.
Yeah. And then we get a really long Steve Austin versus Mark Merritt. It's a 17-minute long affair.
It's very long. I think it's the second longest match on the card. No, it's probably the third because I think the Undertaker and Mankind probably went longer. Just barely.
Kind of interesting that Mark Merrow was the first guy who WWF countered the guaranteed contracts with to bring him over. The first big, he was their Cody Rhodes.
I know.
He was their big steal from WCW. Was the Wild Man, Mark Merrow, and the person who obviously featured more prominently because she was mentioned a lot more than him during this match was Sable.
Yeah.
And that momentum continued on all the way through 2003 whenever she ended up leaving WWE.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, this match, it's funny because Conrad apparently Conrad did not like Mark Merrow. But he said it was the weirdest thing because he claims that he likes Mark Merrow personally. He was just like, he brought nothing of value to the ring. And I'm like, if I like somebody personally, probably not going to say that. Probably not going to phrase it that way.
Yeah. I mean, he was Mark Morrow was actually pretty athletic, hitting ranas, suicide dives.
Yeah,
throughout the match. Like the athleticism was there. Now, if it maybe from a storytelling standpoint, if his work doesn't do it for you, I could understand that.
I wonder if it was from a character perspective.
It could be.
Because, and that's might be a little bit on WWF. Mm-hmm. Because, from a character's perspective, I don't even know what he's supposed to be. The Wild Man. And then he was, boxer later on.
Because he was actually a Gold Gloves champion, I believe.
Yeah, you and I both kind of like Mark Morrow, in his later days. He was goofy. He did the comedy stuff really well.
Yeah, he did.
The whole thing with him and Jackie, I thought that was they had wildly good chemistry. At this point, it's who really cares about the guy? It's if you look at his stint in WCW, it was weird to say the least. To say the least. Little Richard was just a weird gimmick to have, no matter how you cut it. So they bring him over. He's Wild Man.
Yeah.
And then so at some point here, depending on whose story you believe, either from a kick or from Austin hitting his lip on Morrow's head, Austin's lip just explodes. But that doesn't stop him from getting a stunner,
yeah,
and getting the win over Mark Morrow. I thought the match was fine. It's just I don't really care about Mark Morrow. So.
I think this was his first pinfall loss in WWF at the time too.
And then he won. Yeah, Bruce brought up the fact that with Ahmed Johnson and with Mark Morrow, they suffered losses before they went on to win the Intercontinental Championship. And Bruce sort of no-sold the question as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
A lot of good you did me, Bruce.
Yeah, I just want to talk about
Bruce
Warriors
Pritchard.
hat.
Yeah.
After that, we had a Jake Roberts interview. He says, I was once blind, now I can see. He says, my soul was purchased by the blood of the Lamb.
Yeah.
Now I can't lose when I know that the power from above is reaching down, lifting me up. He says, if I can get by Vader, I know I got Stone Cold. Lord help me.
Stone Cold.
I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it. I got Vader.
So then we had that match next, and this was very, very short.
It was a weird match.
And the finish sucked. It was a bad finish. So Jake,
didn't even make sense.
No, it did. Jake hits Vader with a DDT, and on the way down, Vader just kind of brushes the ref on the way down. Ref falls, and the ref DQs Vader. Jake wins.
Yeah.
It was a terrible finish.
Yeah, this was awful.
It was awful.
So of course Vader gets pissed off about that. He splashes Jake from behind, follows with another, and then gives him a nasty Vader bomb. Of course, breaking all the ribs.
Yeah.
At Jake Roberts' has. Goddamn. And then the ref comes out to break things up. And then they all help escort Jake to the back. Then we got Coliseum home video exclusive of Cornette and Vader. They're in the bathroom apparently, and they were both pretty pissed off.
Yeah.
That they got DQ'd here. And
why are they upset? It's Vader's fault. He chose to do that.
It was so incidental, man. It was instinctual. He shouldn't have been DQ'd. I'm with Camp Cornette here.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Oh wow.
You sounded like Vince on
what
commentary.
A maneuver.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
Oh, you stand with Camp Cornette? Yes.
So after that, we had the Godwins versus Smoking Guns. The Godwins brought some baby goats to the ring.
I was very concerned for these baby goats, Larson.
I know.
I'll be honest with you. I thought, number one, Naked Mideon was going to trample one of them.
Yeah.
And they didn't. I don't know what physical indicators baby goats have for being scared about things, but they seemed okay.
Yeah, they seemed fine.
It didn't there was no tail being tucked between a leg.
No,
which I don't know.
I was concerned that one of the baby goats was gonna poop in the ring or something like that, though. So
I wasn't. I was hoping. I was rooting for that to happen. I was like, come on, do a poop. Do a poop.
So before the Smoking Guns come out, they have an interview with Sonny.
Oh, this was
their manager. Was
this the most unfortunate? This is one of the most unfortunate interviews.
Oh yeah,
I think I've ever seen, especially because Billy Gunn's never been a good promo.
No,
but this was next level. This might have got a 2 on the Going In Raw math promo scale for his performance.
So Sonny talks some crap about the Body Donos,
and Sonny's okay here.
Yeah. And some crap about Phineas Godwin, and then Doc Hendricks, Michael Hayes, asked Billy if he's got anything to say, and he goes, "Yes, Sonny, she's beautiful and award-winning manager."
Wait, hold on, you actually got this wrong because I watched this 3 times.
All right,
he says this. Oh yeah, she's beautiful. She's an award winner. Manager. He says she's an award winner. And then stumbles and says, "Manager,
yeah,
we're the tag champions." Sonny says, "When we win, we're gonna get it done."
It's bad.
Oh man, this was so bad. This was so bad.
It was so bad. But it's interesting watching him deliver a bad promo, but like in the ring, it's already like all the usual things he's been doing throughout his career is right there.
Oh, he's a stud in the ring, man. Yeah, I could see why they like him.
Even though he is like 40 pounds lighter in muscle.
Yeah,
there as opposed to now.
Yeah, oh yeah. His promo was very like it was early Dirk Diggler.
Yeah,
is what it was.
It was. There's this one bit during this match where Billy hits Henry Godwin with a famouser, doesn't get the win, but then shortly after, Bart starts talking crap, and then Vince just kind of says, "Look at this, verbal taunting." Dude.
Look at this verbal taunting. Oh, how was Vince how was he announcer for so long? Like this guy.
Well, he owned the company. That's why, Steve.
Well, yeah, I know, but why do you think this is such? Well, I mean, that's like next level obsessive control, right? When you have to be the voice of the entire fucking thing too. It's like there are any number of other people who they could have had Doc Hendricks be Michael Hayes be an announcer probably.
Yeah, no, Vince was not a good announcer. Not a good.
He
announcer.
was awful. He was terrible. Also, they had introduced Cloudy, which was I know they had mentioned who this was.
It was a friend of Chris Candido's, Jimmy Shoulders. It's independent.
Oh
wrestler.
yeah, Jimmy Shoulders. That sounds like a Tony D guy.
I know.
Hey, Jimmy is going to be Fabian Eichner's new character, Jimmy Shoulders. So yeah, this was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he dropped a famouser. He got 2 and no crowd reaction whatsoever. And then so Bart hits Naked Midian, I believe, as the ref isn't paying attention with a loaded boot or just a boot. And then Billy goes and gets the pin. I mean, this wasn't like a terrible match.
It was just a mess.
But it was just a mess. And so after that, we've got an interview with Camp Cornette, including Cornette, British Bulldog. We have Slick there. And then Bulldog's wife.
Clarence Mason.
Oh, Clarence Mason, yeah. Bulldog's wife was there as well.
Yeah.
And she looked like she didn't want to be there. And then all of a sudden, Mr. Perfect comes milling about. So Cornette says HBK's time is up. It should have been Bulldog's title last month. And he says no amount of WWF presidents are going to stop the Bulldog from becoming champion. And then Mr. Perfect just wanders in the background.
Because he's supposed to be the special guest ref for their title match.
Yeah, he's got the ref outfit on. And then Doc Hendricks, Michael P.S. Hayes, says, "Oh, there's collusion afoot here." And Bulldog says, "If Perfect went into HBK's locker, you might get his wallet stolen." He says, he's going to call it right down the middle. And then he says, "Tonight I'm going to join the Triple Crown." That was not a good Bulldog accent. I like when he told Bret Hart, "Oh, I'm fucked. Yeah, Bret, I'm fucked."
Yeah.
Bret Hart's impression of British Bulldog is my favorite.
It's pretty great. So after that, we had Jerry Lawler versus Ultimate Warrior. And Lawler is just milling about, going up to the King of the Ring gear, checking it out. And he cuts this extended promo, talking crap to the crowd.
There were 2 moments during this pay-per-view that I was like, you couldn't have booked something else to fill time? It was this, and then Brian Pillman. Seemingly, they gave Brian Pillman a blank check on how much time to fill.
Yeah.
They were like, listen, this main event's 26 minutes long as scheduled right now. We could probably cut that down, so just talk.
And apparently gave him all the latitude he wanted in terms of what he wanted to say.
Yeah, apparently, according to Bruce, the direction for Pillman was just to be as most controversial as you can.
Yeah,
and he did, and he tried. Lawler apparently was given the same kind of leeway because, man, there were some things said here that just better left be unmentioned. But yeah, he just runs down the crowd. No particular reaction from the crowd beyond the people that he's directly addressing. But otherwise, the crowd is basically sort of confused and bored. He calls them losers, and it's just 5 minutes of him just walking around aimlessly, talking on the mic. Warrior, of course, comes down. This was a huge prop from the Warrior because it's like, man, thank God somebody's breaking this up, even if it's Ultimate Warrior. So Lawler attacks Warrior with the scepter.
Hold on. During Warrior's entrance, Vince calls him one of the most reckless individuals in the history of WWF.
I wonder if he actually meant. I
wonder, like sometimes Vince let his true feelings kind of slip through from time to time on commentary.
Yeah. I can say anything in this voice, and people just think that I'm being an announcer. So, anyways, Lawler attacks Warrior with the scepter, and then Warrior completely no-sells Jerry Lawler's finish, a pile driver, and then gets a pretty quick win with a shoulder tackle.
Yeah, of all moves, a shoulder tackle. A shoulder tackle. After that, we had Gorilla Monsoon is being interviewed while Jake's getting checked out by the trainer.
Getting his ribbies taped up there.
He's getting the rib tape on. So Gorilla says only Jake knows if he can keep going, but he has a burning desire to continue, so I'm going to let him continue, and I'm not going to let my heart overrule my head.
I wonder if the burning desire is just what's happening in his ribs.
Could be.
It's probably just really
rib
hot
injuries
and
are very painful.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, he says, how many more chances is Jake going to get at the ripe old age of 41?
Oh, I know.
Like, how much of WWE's main event scene is past 41 right now?
Quite a
like,
bit.
AJ Styles is past 41.
Edge is older than 41.
Brock is probably over 41 at this point.
Yeah, Orton's around there, if not over.
Edge, Orton for sure, yeah. Yeah, Shin's probably close to 41.
Yeah.
Bob Roode, Dolph Ziggler, they're all probably approaching. After that, we had Mankind versus Undertaker. Apparently, Taker liked working with Mankind because he felt that he kept his character fresh.
Yeah,
and you could see why. This was a hell of a feud right here. These guys really just understood, like the formula was there this early. Like Mankind was relatively fresh here, being introduced as a character.
This is his first match against Undertaker since after his debut. I think he debuted the Raw after Mania '96. This might have been his first match.
Okay,
against Undertaker.
Everybody's like, wait a second, it's Cactus Jack. What, Mankind? See, the difference is back then they had kind of cool reboots for people. Like you go from WCW to WWF and you're no longer Little Richard impersonator. You're the Wild Man, which I don't care what it is. It's infinitely better than being Little Richard impersonator, especially the way they presented it. With Mankind, yeah, Cactus Jack is great. He's awesome, right? Mankind is a cool name.
It is, and it's a cool character.
And it's a cool character, and he's got the mask.
And he's out there pulling his hair out and squealing and stuff like that. It's
pretty cool.
It's genuinely disturbing for 1996, yes.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Yeah, the pulling the hair out shit, that was messed up. So anyways, but yeah, you could see instantly these guys had chemistry. And it was kind of, just Mankind was this guy who, took a licking and kept on ticking. And Taker could throw everything out of him, and it legitimately, in character, freaked Undertaker out that Mankind was just this, this guy who seemingly couldn't feel. It's like he would just completely destroy him, and he would just keep on coming back at him, and he'd like revel in it. And that's the story that was being told here. It was phenomenal. It was good stuff.
It was really good. We got a lot of Foley's kind of greatest hits from move standpoint, elbow off the apron. He got backdropped on the concrete. All that type of stuff. So down towards the finish, Mankind grabs the urn from Paul Bearer, and he's about to hit Undertaker with it. Well, instead, Undertaker grabs Mankind by the throat, drives him into the corner. Paul Bearer has the urn with him by now. Tries to hit Mankind with it. Foley evades, so ends up Undertaker gets hit with it.
Yeah.
And then Foley puts on the mandible claw to get the win. And afterwards, Mankind chases Paul Bearer up the ramp with a chair. And then Undertaker stumbles up, really selling the mandible claw to get the win or to follow.
Yeah,
so a huge win for Mankind coming in, just a handful of months after his debut, beating the Undertaker.
Absolutely, yeah. It's interesting to see the pieces sort of fall into place with all these characters. After that, we had a Mr. Perfect interview with Doc Hendricks. He's I suspect collusion with Camp Cornette. And Perfect says, I bet you can't even spell collusion. Dude, I'm sorry, man. Mr. Perfect, he's got to be. It's like him. To me, it's like him, Holland Piper. Perfect should have been champion, man. He should have been world champion in WWF or WCW.
I know.
Anyways, so HBK steps in with a head full of steam with some really wonderful looking handcrafted earrings. And he says, tonight, he says, you got a chance to earn that name. He says, I worked too hard and too long for you to blow this for me. He says, call it down the middle and raise the hand of the better man. And Perfect says, I'm going to call it down the middle. Why does nobody believe me? With a straight face. He's so good.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
He's so good.
Next, we had Goldust versus Ahmed Johnson for the Intercontinental Championship. Early on this match, they mentioned the WWF Kuwaiti Championship.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was thinking, I don't know what that is. So I looked it up, and it was apparently a tournament that WWF held during a house show tour of Kuwait.
Yeah.
And they did it
nuts.
twice, I think. They did it 2 consecutive years, 96 and 97, I believe.
It's kind of their version of the Saudi shows these days, how you had the greatest Royal Rumble championship. You know, they just bust out championships for whatever reason. Didn't really stick, though, that Kuwaiti championship. So anyways, Ahmed probably shouldn't be doing topes, man. Because,
he just
oh my
on his
God.
head,
Yeah, that was terrifying. This dude, he's a big dude. And he went launching himself out of the ring to Goldust, and he almost planted himself right on his head.
Yep.
That'd have been horrible.
Yep.
Goldust was just selling the shit out of everything Ahmed Johnson was giving him here. I mean, Ahmed, I don't know what the deal was with him, but in terms of the looks department, give this guy a 10. He was legitimate. So yeah, Ahmed wins with a Tiger Driver. They call it the Pearl River Plunge, and he wins Goldust. This has got to be the Alpha Intercontinental Championship for me, man. Because Goldust had the gold strap.
Oh, heck yeah, man.
Why didn't they keep this? It was beautiful.
I know, it was amazing. Amazing.
All gold, everything.
Hopefully one day we'll have an all gold belt. So anyways, after this, we had this really bizarre promo for the next In Your House pay-per-view.
Aliens.
So this dude brings some aliens home. Runs some aliens, brings them home to watch the WWF pay-per-view. And then the aliens teleport Sonny to this guy's living room. It was very bizarre.
Nice.
It was very bizarre.
SETI Alpha 5. Maybe they were from SETI Alpha 6.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, so then Ahmed walks into the locker room. They start showering him with champagne, and Shawn Michaels comes in, gives him a hug.
Yeah, he says, I'm going to get that title on my friend Scott Hall. No, wait, he's gone. Triple H. So after that, we had Brian Pillman. He comes to the ring. I'm sorry, he comes ringside to do an interview with good old JR. And, he's a loose cannon man. You probably wrote more of this shit down here. Oh, no, you didn't. Here it is. Yeah, he says, I don't give a damn about my own family, of course. That probably made Griff and Brian Pillman Jr. sad. He says he cares even less about this sewer.
In Milwaukee.
I
believe they're in Milwaukee for the show.
They're in Milwaukee. He says it makes sense why Jeffrey Dahmer tried to consume this whole state from head to toe. God damn, that is rough.
Yeah.
That was just the beginning.
Yeah.
That was just the beginning. He says, he asked JR, he says, how does it feel? He asked JR how it feels while he does whatever he wants. Wait, what?
Well, he asked JR, like, how does it feel while you essentially watch me do whatever I want, I think.
Oh, yeah. He says, we're going to find out real soon which of the so-called WWF superstars has the guts to stop him. I'm the brightest star to ever set foot on God's green earth. Why WWF crowns King of the Ring. He says, I'm the leader of a new revolution. I'm going to ascend to my throne. And then he also says, I'm going to rape, pillage, and plunder the entire WWF. Here's the thing. So Bruce said they told him just go out and say as much controversial stuff as possible. This entire thing felt like he was just waiting to get reactions.
Yeah.
Like he would say a bunch of stuff and then he'd stop and just sort of look around.
Yeah, totally.
He'd come back to the mic. I'm going to do this, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
He'd come back around and then he'd say some more shit. He'd say stuff like this line here. And then and he would just sort of wait for people to say stuff or to react. And the crowd, again, was just sort of, I don't know. They were like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, not much reaction. After that, we had King of the Ring final, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Jake Roberts. So, of course, Stone Cold, knowing that Jake has damaged ribs, targets the ribs.
Well, before, of course, Austin, it was kind of interesting. A little bit of foreshadowing here, which you never get in WWE these days, really. Austin comes out to his old, that shitty, because his glass breaking music didn't debut for a couple more months.
Yeah, it was the
Ringmaster. So he still
theme,
had the Ringmaster theme, which at first, when he first came out, I thought it was like the King of the Ring theme. I was like, oh, they're just having the contestants come out. And I was like, oh no, that's right, that's his Ringmaster theme.
Yeah,
it's terrible. It doesn't fit anything.
It's awful.
But him and Pillman cross paths.
Yeah.
And they sort of give a little acknowledging look there, which is kind of interesting.
It is.
Because of their history and their future.
In the feud they'd eventually have, yeah. Stone Cold starts booting Jake in the ribs, takes his the rib tape from off him, and then Gorilla Monsoon comes to the ring, checks on Jake. Jake's like, no, I want to continue. He mounts a brief little comeback, but then in the end, he calls for a DDT instead of Stone Cold drives him to the corner, hits a bunch of shoulder tackles in the corner, and then hits him with a stunner for the win. Then he makes his way to the King of the Ring stage set and gets interviewed by Doc, and I actually wrote this verbatim. So Steve, you want to get ready? and do this in your Stone Cold voice.
Oh, you don't want to do this one?
I don't do Stone Cold.
Let's rob the people.
I know of what they want.
Probably the only reason they voted for this.
I know, and the only reason I wrote this entire thing down verbatim.
I was just ribbing. I was ribbing you, Larson. Relax. He said this. All right, Doc Hendricks. The first thing I want to be done is get that piece of crap out of my ring. He wasn't talking about literal shit. He was talking about Jake Roberts.
Yeah.
He says, don't just get him out of the ring. Get him out of the WWF. Because I've proved, son, without a shadow of a doubt, you ain't got what it takes anymore. You sit there and you thump your Bible and say your prayers, and it didn't get you anywhere. Talk about your Psalms, talk about your John 3:16, Austin 3:16, and I just want your ass. All you got to do is buy a cheap bottle of Thunderbird and try to get some of that courage he had in his prime. That's messed up. He says, as the king of the ring, I'm serving notice to every one of the WWF superstars. I don't give a damn what they are. They're all on the list. That's right, I had the list before Chris Jericho. And that's Stone Cold's list. And I'm fixing to run through all of them. As far as this championship bitch is concerned, I don't give a damn if it's Davey Boy Smith or Shawn Michaels. Steve Austin's time has come. And when I get the shot, you're looking at the next WWF champion. And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. Wait, let me back up. I'm not actually going to be the next WWF champion. How about this? How about next? We have Sid. No, wait, who was next? Was it Sid?
It was Sid. Sid won it at a Survivor Series, yeah.
After Sid, it'll be The Undertaker?
No, Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels beat Sid. After that, it's Undertaker?
No, after that, then it gets weird. That's when Shawn gives up the belt because he doesn't want to lose to Brett. They have that four-way match. I believe that's when Sid gets it. And then he carries it to Mania 13, where Undertaker beats him.
Undertaker takes it next. After Undertaker. Shawn Michaels again?
No, I think it's Brett. No, it is Shawn.
Brett?
I think it's Brett.
Is it Brett?
I think it's Brett. The Brett holds it.
And then
Survivor
Michaels
Series.
gets it at Survivor Series.
97, yeah. And
then it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. My time comes approximately a little bit less than 2 years from now. Well, he didn't lose a lot on the road from there, though.
No. Well, unless his opponent's name was Bret Hart. No, he didn't.
Yeah. That was like the only guy.
Brett might have actually won
I think Undertaker pinned him once too. But it was in a triple threat with Brett. I think I looked that up once before.
I'm trying to remember to get that timeline exactly right, because there might have been one title change before Sid got it. Like Sid might have won it off somebody else instead of at that. Because remember they had that four-way match at it in your house in terms of the champ after all that.
Yeah.
So hold on, I can find it. Anyways, moving on to the next thing. And I'll get
the next thing was Davey Boy Smith versus Shawn Michaels, the British Bulldog. Oh, I'm fucked.
All right, sorry. So Bret Hart won it. I'm here. I'll say it. Bret Hart won it after it was vacated, and he had it for one day before Sid beat him on Raw.
So Shawn Michaels vacated it.
Bret Hart won it at In Your House Final Four, and then the following Raw, Sid beat him for it. Okay. And then Undertaker won it at Mania. Bret beat him at SummerSlam, and then Shawn got his Survivor Series.
Okay. All right. There you go.
And then Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then it was Kane, and then it was probably Stone Cold Steve Austin again.
I don't know the lineage after that. Anyways, so yeah, British Bulldog versus Shawn Michaels. Man, whatever problems British Bulldog had back at SummerSlam 95, he did not carry with him less than a year later here, because this was 26 minutes. This is a fucking good match.
It was a really good match.
To begin things, though, of course, Mr. Perfect, who's supposed to be the referee, no way. WWF merchandise merchant Earl Hebner became the official in-ring officiant.
Yes.
Official. And then Mr. Perfect was relegated by Gorilla Monsoon to be the outside enforcer referee guy.
Correct. Yes.
And nobody was happy. Like HBK wasn't happy about that. Camp Cornette wasn't really happy about it. Nobody was really happy about that.
I don't know why Shawn Michaels wasn't really happy about it. That kind of seemed like it would benefit him, considering that Mr. Perfect was just in Camp Cornette's locker room.
Because probably earlier in the show, he took a doot in Earl Hebner's bag. And then he knew that Earl had all that merch in there. So he was like, what, man, damn, he's gonna have a hot head for me.
That could be.
Yeah, but
So
anyways, it was a good match.
it was a good match. The finish was a little bit on the silly side. So Shawn Michaels slams British Bulldog, and Davey Boy Smith's leg just barely clips Earl Hebner. We get a ref bump. So Shawn Michaels hits the top rope elbow, sets up for sweet chin music, hits it. Then Earl is about to count the pin. Mr. Perfect comes in to count the pin as well and tells him to kind of like, wait. Then they both count. And then as Perfect's about to count 3, Owen pulls him out. Earl counts the pinfall. Shawn Michaels win. It's just like super overbooked.
Yeah.
And then Owen,
it's a mess.
Then Owen hits the ring, goes after Shawn Michaels. Shawn fights him off. He punches Bulldog. He puts a figure 4 on Owen. He keeps on trying to fight off Owen and the Bulldog. Eventually, he runs into a kick from Owen Hart. Owen and Bulldog hit a double suplex on Shawn. Ahmed Johnson runs out to make the save. He press slams Owen. Power slams Bulldog. Vader comes out. He takes it to Ahmed. Slams him, hits some ground and pound. And Camp Cornette's just wrecking Shawn and Ahmed. Vader goes up top. And he's up there waiting forever because Warrior's late making the save. So Warrior eventually runs down.
He was probably trying to negotiate his contract backstage at this point.
Pushes Vader off the top rope, clears the ring, and the faces stand tall to end the show. And that was supposed to be the main event for the next pay-per-view was Camp Cornette versus Shawn, Ahmed, and Warrior. Didn't happen that way, though.
No, you know who replaced Warrior?
Sid.
That's right. They even had a name, and I'm trying to remember what that name was. I'll look it up here real quick. Let's see here. What happened? It was King of the Ring 1996. What happened? What was the pay-per-view?
It was
June,
In Your House
International Incident. It was
the People's Posse.
The People's Posse was Shawn Michaels, Sid, and Ahmed Johnson. I'm really curious. I wouldn't mind watching like the Raw after this, or the Raw whenever Sid entered the scene.
Oh yeah, totally.
Which was probably immediately because Warrior started claiming that his dad died, so he needed to go take care of that business.
He was gone from WWF by the end of June. Yeah.
But of course, like the story was that he was never close to his dad and had like disdain for him, and so he just wanted to. It was just another power play, is what they were thinking. But I don't know. Give me Sid any day of the week.
Oh,
but,
heck
dude,
yeah.
that freaking pop, that Warrior would get. Oh man!
So imagine if it was Sid that ran out and made the save instead of Warrior. 2 times the pop. I'm telling you.
I mean, it would have been half the amount of time it took him to get to the ring, though, because Sid was not very fast.
Depends how many fist bumps Sid's dealing out.
That's a good point.
Supposed to run down to make the save, just fist bumping everybody. He gets to the locker room, his car's smashed.
Why me?
Ultimate wrestling car pranks there.
Oh, that's some good stuff on Twitter. It's
fantastic stuff. We had a Coliseum home video thing where Jim Ross is interviewing Camp Cornette, and it's just all to set up the match for the next In Your House.
Yeah.
Really not much. That's probably why it's a Coliseum home video exclusive.
Yeah. What ideas do you, what are you going to bring to the table for the next pay-per-view for people to vote on? Because I did not think about this at all.
So I have an idea.
Okay.
It's not that old of a show, and it's one we actually did a watch along with, and it's not a great show. Backlash 2018.
Oh, shit. Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, man. That's actually a really good idea. So you go with Backlash 2018. You know what I'm going to go with? I'm going to go with In Your House 9 International Incident.
Perfect.
I want to know exactly what happened after this shit. Oh, man. I'm just going to my suggestions are all going to be chronological.
Continuing on, yeah, just seeing where the story goes. Steve wants to see how the things played out in 96.
I do, absolutely. Man, you have a repeat of Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Mark Morrow.
Went about half the time, too.
This is a fucking terrible idea. Never mind. I'm not going to bring that. I'm going to go with, you know what I'll go with? Sort of along the same lines, I guess. Let's see. Do I like this? No, I don't like this. I don't like any of that. Okay, how about this? Let's do... Oh. Ooh. Let's take a trip. Let's take a trip a year down the line.
All right.
We'll do, because I love the mid-90s. We're going to do SummerSlam 1997. This is the one where Stone Cold got dropped on his head. Because we'll see what his momentum was like, and then we'll see how it got, halted potentially.
Derailed.
And then he was able to blast off after that.
And
so I'll go with SummerSlam
right.
97.
That's good. And I guess we can put a thread up and see what the Friendos want to do, and then we can put a poll.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and then we'll put the actual vote up. That sounds cool.
Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.